From folding iPhones to 5G, 2021 could be a big year for mobile advancements. Stick around. Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech and Happy New Year. I'm Juliette Beauchamp and I'm here as always with Macworld senior writer Michael Simon and Computer World executive editor Ken Mingus. So last year was, in my view at least, sort of supposed to be the hallmark year for 5G as a huge mobile advancement. And, while we got a 5G phone from Apple and Google, and there were other 5G phones before that, it didn't necessarily come to fruition perhaps in the way that people had hoped, but maybe this could be the year. But once we're on the topic here of mobile advancements, I'm a little curious about these folding iPhone rumors. So, Mike, can you dive into that for us?
Wait, which part? All of it?
The folding iPhone.
All of it. I want to hear about the folding iPhone of the future.
Yeah.
Just quick about 5G. It's always the adage where, once Apple does it, it becomes a thing. So Apple, based on the numbers, quickly became the number one 5G platform once all those activations, once those iPhone activations, over Christmas, over the holiday season. Now in 2021, I think we're going to start to see those networks seriously get built out. Verizon announced their nationwide 5G when the iPhone rolled out. It's not very good. I have it, and it's basically 4G, kind of. Not even at some points. T-Mobile has one, but I think we're going to start to see those millimeter wave networks, the faster ones. As more people have these phones, they're going to want to use 5G. Everything got delayed, obviously, because of the pandemic and all of that stuff that's going on. That's going to continue, but I think we will see a significant increase in the infrastructure needed to build out these networks.
I just have to jump in and no. Before we get to the fun stuff, though, I have a whine and a complaint. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and if you look at the AT&T map of where their 5G coverage is, it is nowhere here. Yeah. Nowhere. A little bit around Charlotte, maybe some stretch of the interstate west of Raleigh. But once you get, and if you look at the rest of the country, from like Richmond, Virginia, or DC north, all the way up the corridor, it's just solid 5G. So it's amazing how much your geography is your destiny here when it comes to 5G availability. So I'm hoping maybe by 25 or 26, I'll be able to get 5G service here. Anyway,
yeah, I haven't tested AT&T's network, but from what I read, you might not even notice if it did, other than the icon.
Oh, good. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, because there's, it has to do with spectrums and bands and all these things that are far above my pay grade. But the Verizon one, I got it here and I was excited when they did, because when it launched, I didn't have it, but I swear I wouldn't notice. It's the same. It's good. Verizon's 4G speeds are very good. They're 100-ish on average, but the 5G is basically the same, sometimes slower.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to like folding phones, I think. But if I read your report correctly, Michael, we're not talking 21. We're talking like maybe 22. Is this thing really going to happen?
So folding phones, I'm not quite sure they're the next big thing yet. But they're a thing. Samsung has two of them now. The Galaxy, it's part of their Z line. So
they have the Galaxy. Or do the hinges break after a couple of years?
Well, come on now. That was early on. They fixed all the problems. There were issues. There were quality control issues, big time, both amongst the Samsung and the Motorola phones early. But they seemingly have worked through those. The models that I've used, the second generation stuff, they're very good. They're interesting. They're expensive, a couple $1,000 for the Samsung flagship, and the flip ones, which basically look like an old school flip phone, but flip up and the inside's all screen. Those are a little less, about $1,300-$1,500. So they're not cheap.
What's the use case?
Well, that's the thing. So before the iPhone came out, there were smartphones, and people had the same question. What's the use case? At that time, the use case was business. It was Blackberries. It was Palm Pres. It was things like that. And right now, the use case is, I want to be on the cutting edge. There's not a lot of compelling reasons to have a phone that goes from a 6-inch screen to an 8-inch screen when you open it up or something like that. What I think Apple is going to do, if they do this, is figure out a way. First of all, they got to figure out a way to make it much more elegant. The way these hinges are now, some of them are creaky. they don't close quite flat.
They're
So
thick. They're very thick.
There's a little bit of a seam there that you can see. There's a crease in the center of the screen of light. You can feel, some things under your hand. These things are getting better, but it's not the modern, sleek experience you get from something like the S20 or the iPhone. You can feel that it's early technology, although it's very cool. And the multitasking has to be there and all that stuff. But Apple, I think what they're going to, so Samsung went and Motorola and Huawei, they took the phone and made it bigger. What I think Apple's going to do is quite the opposite, is take the iPad and make it smaller. So I think that they're going to, once this ever comes out, people say it's an iPhone because that's what we think. I don't know if we're going to get that. I think we're going to get an iPad that can fold down to fit in your pocket. And I think that use case is much more compelling from a consumer standpoint than having a phone that you can sometimes use as a tablet. Having a tablet that you can pocket and use it as a tablet first and foremost and mostly, and then use it as a phone when it needs to be, I think maybe it's just a marketing thing, but I think it makes more sense than the way Samsung and Motorola are building these devices.
It's interesting you say that, because literally as you were talking, I was thinking, rather than scale up, maybe they take the big iPhone and basically cut it in half, or allow you to fold it in half, so that you actually have a large, like an iPad Pro, that you could fold in on itself and make it more portable. Now, you're still not going to stick that in your pocket. It's going to be too big.
That would be big. Yeah,
that would be a big one. But I mean,
but something like the Mac Mini, that size, a 7.9 inch screen, folding down to a 5 or 6 inch screen. The iPhone 12 Pro Max, that's a big phone. You double that, open it up. You got a pretty nice workspace there, and they can even push that a little bit more. Those bezels can still get smaller. They can still make that bigger, close to 7 on the outside. Open it up, you got 9 and change or something, whatever that diagonal is.
Okay, and, when can I buy my new folding iPhone iPad thingy?
When can you buy it?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe never.
Damn.
But I think realistically, not this year, obviously, probably not next year either. I think we're looking at Apple. When we start hearing about these rumors of new products, they're 2, 3.
But they are testing prototypes, right? Away. Wasn't that the big rumor, that there were actual prototypes?
Hinge prototypes.
Oh, okay.
These weren't working phones. What they were doing was they were testing 2 versions of the Hinge. The Hinge is the sticking point. You get that right, you got it. Yeah. So they were working on 2 different models, according to this. It was the Economic Daily Times in Taipei, I believe. They reported that there were 2 models going through production, prototype production, not mass production. One was just a simple open and close folding display thing that they probably sourced from Samsung. The other one, which is kind of compelling, and we've heard this rumor before, that it's actually 2 screens that, when opened, create a kind of a seamless, all right. The Surface Duo that Microsoft came out with. So it's kind of like that, but the screens when they open, there wouldn't be a bezel between them, or any kind of an indication that they're 2 separate screens. Yeah. So that's something Apple would do. Figure out a way to do this and solve all of those problems, which is breakability, fragility, durability, long lastingness, all of those problems that come with opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing would go away, because you wouldn't actually be folding the screen, but you would still get that experience of having a device that opens. Because the folding part is just a parlor trick. You're either using it closed or open. Right. Samsung and Motorola, they have instances where where you can open it halfway and watch a movie and then do work down here. Apple could do that too. You don't need to have the screen fold on itself in order to do that. What you need to do is somehow have a device that opens up into a larger device. So if Apple could pull that off, and I don't know if they can, but it's interesting that they're trying, that would solve all of the issues.
I'm just curious, Juliet, you were asking early on about, a variety of mobile things that may be coming
Mm-hmm.
up for 21. One of the continuous rumors, speculation, expectations is Apple's going to roll out iPads this year, and I guess maybe the larger upscale MacBook Pros with mini LED screens. I'm just asking, Michael, do you know, does mini LED, is that better or worse for folding screens? Do we have any idea, or is
Uh,
it maybe not any better than what we got now?
I have no idea. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know. Maybe.
That's a fair answer. You're allowed not to know. If you knew, we'd be
I would BS an answer, but I don't even know where to begin.
okay. I mean, I am intrigued because, the thing I see about mini LED screens is it sounds like even though it's still an LED, it comes closer to OLED screens,
Yeah, and
with
it's more power efficient and
power efficient, smaller
yeah,
pixels,
that
truer
stuff.
blacks, truer
Right.
colors, all the things I'd like to have. And so I just wondered if maybe there was something about the technology of mini LEDs that might make,
For
the
folding, I
folding.
don't know. I mean,
Okay.
Samsung just released so the first ones were plastic. The first Galaxy Z's and the Motorola phones, they were plastic fold and they felt like plastic. It was plastic with like a coating on it that kind of was supposed to make it feel like glass. It did not. The second gen, there's the Z Flip and the Galaxy Fold Z2, I think, whatever they're calling it, is actually glass, like actually bendable glass. As far as the technology underneath all that, I don't think it would make a difference. You know, the hard part is the top piece. I think once you solve that, the material bending, I don't know why it would matter if it was micro LED, mini LED, OLED, or whatever. But what do I know? I'm not a
I have
display
to admit the
manufacturer.
I have to admit the idea of bendable glass, it
It's
just
cool, yeah.
skeeves me out a little bit. No, I think it's cool, but it's hard for me to. I mean, is it really glass? Is it some composite? Is it, because glass doesn't bend. I mean,
I
how
mean,
do you
Samsung
know?
calls it ultra thin glass. I mean,
Yeah,
it could be a bit of a marketing tweak, but I
yeah.
can tell you what, it feels like glass. It looks like glass. It shatters like glass. So, um, whether it's according to Hoyle glass, I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
definitely it's good enough where it would convince anybody who uses one that it is. And this is only the second generation of this. Samsung will come out with the Z Fold later this year, later this year. Other companies will get on board, and so we're already kind of rapidly moving through this folding world. The question is the use case as we started.
Mhm.
Can Samsung convince everyone that they need this? I don't know if they can. Apple, on the other hand, has a much better ability to convince people that they need this high end, cutting edge stuff. And if they can't, they don't release it. That's the difference between Apple and everybody else. Samsung releases stuff, mainly to be first. The innovations that they release, there is a minefield of stuff that Samsung has released in its phones that have died in a year or two because no one cared about them. Apple doesn't do that. They
Well, that's
they design and they iterate and they evolve behind the scenes and only release it when they think that it actually solves a problem or fills a use case that we have.
speaking of exactly those, parameters. Do we think we're going to see Apple Glass this year? The glasses? I see a lot of speculation that this might
Yeah,
be a year when they might
yeah.
finally
I
release
mean,
something.
honestly, that wouldn't surprise me, but only like kind of like Apple Watch, where they announce it but don't ship it for like 6 to 8 months. Um, there are rumors. They're definitely working on something. Ming-Chi Kuo, who's usually spot on,
Yeah, he's
did say that but he's also said that last year that there's something very far along in development in the second half of 2021. I mean, we'll see. Uh, I have a lot of questions about it. I don't know if we're ready for it, but I do know that Tim Cook is very high on AR. He has been for a while. Apple has the LiDAR stuff. They have the multi-camera stuff, the depth stuff, the deep fusion stuff. Like it's all there. So if Apple's serious about a project such as that, I don't think it's out of the realm of reality that yeah, we could see a finished product, a shipping product this year that they unveil at the end of an iPhone event or at the end of the Apple Watch event as the like that sneak peek thing that they're known to do.
I wonder, does something like Apple Glass, if that's the case, especially if you're talking about AR, VR, is that something that relies on bandwidth to be done right? I mean, if you're going to wear the glasses and have something, around AR, VR with an immersive experience, you kind of need bandwidth for that to work, right?
Yeah, I mean,
unless it's
we have it.
well, that's my point. What I was going to say is, now
just
because
like the
Apple's
first
very good
Apple
at
Watch.
Apple's very good at waiting for the other pieces that it has no control over to fall into place. And with something like obviously 5G and, even just stronger broadband, Wi-Fi 6, things like that, it puts part of the infrastructure that's necessary for Apple Glass to be successful in place.
For sure.
So I was just, okay. So,
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
hopeful
the iPhone, well, for many of them, but we'll say the iPhone 12 because that's the one that's out now. It is way, way, way more powerful than we need it to be. And so if it needed to power glasses, it could absolutely do that. I mean, the first Apple Watch was 100% dependent on the phone. It did everything. I mean, you felt it. If you compare the Series 0, whatever it is, to now, I mean, it's very slow, but it did at the time. It was the iPhone did all of the heavy lifting. The apps, everything was on the phone, and it worked fine. And that was a processor from 5 years ago. The A14, and presumably it will be the A15 in the iPhone 13. I mean, these processors, as we see in the Mac and the other products that they're insanely fast, insanely capable, insanely powerful. And yeah, you add 5G, you add Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, which is on the way, and I'm sure the iPhone 13 will support. It is more than capable of powering a standalone pair of glasses that need to show video and live video and streaming and those types of things.
That's what I'll be honest with you, Juliet. I have to admit, Apple Glass probably intrigues me more than the folding phone at this point, and it seems like it might be a little sooner to arrive if we're lucky.
Fair enough. I'm with you there. Yeah, it really seems folding phones, at least a folding iPhone, rather, a few years in the making. And I'm with you, Ken, on the question of what is the use case. I love my iPhone. It works well for me, and I liked having a folding phone. When I was in 6th grade, that's when I got my first phone. But I think I'm good for now.
Definitely. I'm holding out for the Glass.
And were you in 6th grade when you got your first phone?
They didn't have phones, actually. Alexander Graham Bell was a child when I was born, so phones had not been around. I do like. Have you seen, off topic? Have you seen that video where they show like some millennials or something, and they hand them the old rotary dial phone, and they're like, "Okay, make a call," and they're trying to figure out how to dial and what the numbers mean. And I always wonder if that's just a BS kind of video, but I think there are a lot of people who wouldn't know how to use the old phones.
I mean, they were kind of funky and weird. I never had one. I had touch tone, but yeah, I mean, it is like when you look at it, it's like, well, how the hell does this thing work? Like you're trying to punch the numbers, not spin
that's what
the
they were
dial.
doing, and they were like,
I don't think I would know if not for the fact that I'm in this world and I grew up close enough to that era. But the logic of that, you don't think to spin the dial.
No. So who knows what Apple's coming up with? All I know is if 21 is anything like 20, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and Apple's is cranking along on 8 cylinders here.
Yeah, I mean the Macs,
metaphors.
Macs for sure, iPads, obviously the iPhone 13, couple surprises along the way, Apple Watch. I mean, Apple's in this cycle now where there's certain products we expect at certain times. But yeah, 2020 was huge, and I expect 2020 to be just as big.
All right. Well, there we have it. Thank you both so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. And for the record, I'm like 98% sure I know how to use a rotary phone. So not too bad.
I hope so.
And an iPhone.
Hopefully you'll never have to again, but at least you can.
All right. Well, thank you both so much again. And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon in the corner so you're notified every single time we post a new video. Leave a comment below and let us know what you're most excited for when it comes to the realm of 2021 mobile advancements and development. Are you really stoked about a potential folding iPhone or any sort of other folding phone? The Apple Glass. Let me know in the comments. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.